Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are thrilled to have a San Diego icon in the studio with us today, Ballard Smith. Yes, that is the Ballard Smith, the former president of the San Diego Padres for 12 years. Was responsible for really raising the bar on so many things within that organization, from community involvement to marketing, from operations and so forth, and was heavily responsible for the San Diego Padres' first World Series appearance in 1984. Ballard, what an honor to have you with us today.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And Ballard comes our way of Andy Strasburg. Andy's been a frequent guest on my Spotlight show, and Andy was, in his own way, very iconic. Worked very closely with Ballard in marketing and PR, and had a whole bunch of cool things. Then you guys were pretty closely together. First of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
You look great.
Yeah.
Are you
getting older?
You're it's just a number. It's just a number. You're writing a book, though, correct?
I'm writing a book.
Talk about that.
Well, the original idea was my kids were fairly young when I left the Padres. So I thought I'm going to put together a timeline. And I happened to run across Barry Bloom, who used to cover the team for the evening paper. He said, why don't we write a book about the 84 World Series, some of the untold stories? And so now what it's kind of evolved into is not just untold stories about 84, but more the building of the team.
Right.
And what happened was, when I decided to do this, one of the first books I read was that Jack McKeon had read. And, I love Jack. Jack had a big part in putting together the 84 team.
Sure did.
But he was only part of it. And it kind of annoyed me, some of the things he said in the book that he was taking credit for. So just tried to expand how the team was put together.
Right. So when was Buzzy there? Was Buzzy there when Jack was there, or did Jack replace Buzzy? Or
No. Buzzy got fired in 1976 or 7.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And then kind of the evolution was that. So I told you I'm a lawyer.
That's right.
I'm a lawyer, an ex-prosecutor.
Recovering lawyer, you said.
I'm a recovering lawyer. And so my father-in-law, Ray Kroc, had asked me to come out to San Diego to be his eyes and ears and be legal counsel.
Right.
Yeah, great baseball fan. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Exactly.
So I came out. I had spent a year with the San Diego Mariners, and then I came over to the Padres. And so Buzzy got fired, and Ray called me in the next day, and he says, tired of all these friggin' baseball people. Why don't you see what you can do? I'm thinking, whoa. I mean, it was never, ever my intent to run a baseball team. I wanted to come out, be legal counsel, and have fun. So that was kind of the start of it. And then Ray had a stroke in 1979.
Right.
And so I'd started out as executive vice president, then I became president. And so then at that point, it really was mine to see what I could do with.
Yeah, that's great. So now you're thrust into this, and you're looking around to say, this is new for me, right? How quickly did it take you to acclimate to running baseball operations? Or you didn't have a choice, be honest with you, right?
Well, I didn't have a choice, but one of the few things that I realized is that talk to as many people that are there and learn as much as you as you can. And so after Ray had a stroke, Joan Kroc came to me and she said, we put about $10 million into this team. That's it. You've got to run this team based on its own revenue. And really only two people ever knew that. One was me, and obviously Dick Freeman, who became the CFO.
I was going to ask, yeah.
And so that was kind of the start of it. And you mentioned Andy,
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to me because Andy was a big part of building that team. Because Andy kind of had that Bill Veeck attitude about promotions.
Sure did.
Baseball was starting to expand beyond just the game, make it a full entertainment opportunity. And so Andy was really very creative, putting together promotions, which increased attendance, which helped increase some revenues. So I look at him as being the first step. Then in 1980, hired Jack McKeon.
Right.
And again, to some people, that was not a popular choice.
Trader Jack.
So we hired Trader Jack, and then so 81 was Dick Freeman, and Dick Freeman becomes very important in the story.
Right.
And then in 82 we went to sign Steve Garvey, and I was mentioning in Jack's book, he loves to take credit for that. Jack did not want to sign Steve Garvey. I found out later he's going around, this guy's over the hill, he's not going to help us or whatever. And I looked at Steve as this Dodger icon that could make a positive impact on what we were trying to build in San Diego. And so Jack couldn't have signed Steve.
Interesting. We're chatting with Ballard Smith, is the former president of the San Diego Padres there when he was building the franchise into a World Series team. Unfortunately, ran into a juggernaut that year, the Detroit Tigers, but had a great run. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running podcast. We're now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things in San Diego County. So it's now 1982. When did Williams get hired? When did Dick Williams?
So then Williams got hired in 82, and that's kind of interesting too, because at that point, Jack wanted to be both manager and general manager. And Dick Williams was a little controversial because, as you may know, Joan Kroc was very into alcoholism.
Right,
treatment.
exactly. Right, that's right.
She had a foundation, Operation Cork.
I remember.
And Dick Williams had a reputation as a drinker. And he also had a reputation of being tough on his players. So Montreal fired him.
Right.
And so I'd interviewed a bunch of people and, talked to Dick about his drinking and went to my mother-in-law. I forgot to mention the drinking to her.
Yeah.
And just told her what we're going to do. And Ray was enthusiastic about it. Well, the next day I got a call from Charles Brofman. Brofman family owned the Montreal Expos, who had fired Dick.
Right.
He says, let me tell you something. I don't care how many times you win the World Series. You're going to regret the day you hired that guy. I thought, oh. Now, I don't know that I would go
Didn't they own Seagram's? What did the Brofmans own? They owned a big...
Yeah, they owned Seagram's.
Right, exactly. Right.
So, Dick was 82. And then, of course, the next year we signed Gossage.
Right.
And again, obviously, Jack, who wouldn't want to sign Gossage? That's when Dick Freeman became very creative, because we ended up putting together a financial package that we were able to convince his agent really was worth a lot more money than it had cost us. And so that was getting close to the final piece for 84.
And what was the final piece?
Maybe getting, we signed Greg Nettles and,
right, sure.
Got him in the spring. You build a team and obviously it takes a lot of people and a lot of hard work, but it also takes some luck too. And I saw something with Jack McKeon recently where he was talking about signing Tony Gwynn. We signed Tony Gwynn because we were lucky. He was the 4th player we took in that draft. He was taken in the 3rd round, but we'd had a supplemental pick after the 2nd round. So I don't think anybody can say we knew this guy was going to end up in the Hall of Fame. The other, I don't know how many teams there were at that point, 25 or whatever. They'd all passed on him through 3 rounds. So it takes a little bit of luck too.
Well, yeah, absolutely on that. All right. So now, we come back from break. You folks are doing well. You've won the division. You're playing, well, it's your beloved Padres, but also you love the Cubs. You grew up a Cub fan and a White Sox fan, right? So now you're playing the Cubbies. When we come back from break, let's talk about what that experience looked like when we return with Ballard Smith. We're president of the San Diego Padres. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast. We're now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County, tied to food insecurity, literacy, art, and everything in between. Honored to have Ballard Smith, we're president of the Padres, built the Padres into the 1984 World Series team. We're at that point right now. All right, so you got Gossage, you got Nettles from New York. You've now got Tony Gwynn, of course, recruited him, and the season is going. Did you guys think at the beginning of '84 that you had a World Series contender?
So I remember it. So Ray died early in '84,
right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
And he grew up being a great Cubs fan. He'd do his sale calls in the morning, go sit in the bleachers in the afternoon. And I've often thought about what an amazing experience it would have been for him to be there for that. I lived on the north side. Most of the games I went to were in Wrigley Field. Saw Don Cardwell pitch a no-hitter in Wrigley Field. So it was kind of it really was kind of a, I don't know, almost a surreal
right
experience. And so after Ray died, they had a memorial service at Oak Brook in Chicago. And for better or worse, I spoke for the family. And out of whatever, I said, wouldn't it be great if at the end of this year it could be the Cubs and the Padres in the playoffs? That was in January. So
well, you called it.
I mean, we knew we had a team that had a chance to contend, but
right. Obviously energized, San Diego, to say the least. Everyone just could not get enough of it. Harvey's iconic home run in the playoffs, so forth. And now you're going to Detroit playing a pretty good team. They still would have started off 35-5, if I'm not mistaken, that year. How was that experience?
I mean, it was an amazing experience. It's kind of interesting. Obviously, I wish we would have won the World Series.
Of course.
But to some extent, just being there, being able to experience it. At the time, I don't think I was focused on how good that Detroit team was. And I mean, that was one of the best teams ever assembled
it was.
In the World Series.
It was.
Too bad we didn't win.
Well, you lit a fire, and obviously, that was just a great. Padres had struggled a little bit, when they started in '69 to about that time. Even had some very good years in between. But what I really love what you did, you working with folks like Dick Freeman and Andy Strasburg, You can't talk about what you've done without the San Diego chicken. And, my goodness, KGB chicken at the time, correct? And you had the idea of making sure that he was visible, and you got him out on the field, did you not?
So what had happened was we were filming a commercial. So I went to Ted and I said, Ted, after the fourth inning, they dragged the infield. I want you to go out on the field and do something. Now, at that point, mascots didn't go on the field.
Right.
So Ted says to me, well, what do you want me to do? I said, Ted, you're the entertainer.
Right.
So Ted later told me that when he went out on the field, he had no idea
What he was going to do.
with what he was going to do. And of course, he did what became the icon handshake with the umpire.
Absolutely.
And then lifting the leg. And to some extent, that turned out being the start of his career. I don't know if you remember when he left KGB and he got sued. And
I remember it very well.
so he had come to me and he said, I need $10,000 for legal fees. I said, Ted, it's a lot of money. So we started talking. I said, okay, here's what I'll do. 2 weeks from now on a Saturday, we got a game. We're going to draw about 20,000 people. I'll pay you $1 for everybody over 20,000. Well, he wanted $2. He settled $1.50. We get to about 4 or 5 days before the game, and we're not really selling many other tickets. And Ted had put this big egg out in left field. And 2 nights before the game, these 2 guys hid in the restroom, stole the egg. And must have been a slow news day. It ended up being a big story. I'm out of town. I called Ted. I said, Ted, what a brilliant idea. I said, I had nothing to do with it. Well, long story short, we end up with a crowd of 47,000 people. I end up writing him a check for $42,000. And which obviously was great for us as for him. But the problem was he then decided to take that idea and go on the road. And so we could no longer afford him.
Another thing you did, it was one of my favorite days of the year, and we always signed up for this early. We waited when you guys would say, okay, this is going to be the Beach Boy game. And which sold out in about 5 seconds. And I went to, I think, almost every one of them. My good friend, I think Paul Palmer was involved in that.
Yes.
Yeah, right, exactly. And, Paul died tragically, as you know, not too long ago. But that Beach Boy concert was absolutely phenomenal.
That was really Andy Strasburg's idea to do the concert after the game. So we paid the Beach Boys $25,000. And it's kind of evolved now in the current situation. They do concerts at Petco, but they're all separate.
Right.
So at that point, the major revenue source was just selling more tickets.
Well, you sold them. I mean, the thing was, I remember my friends would say, make sure you look at this thing, get your ticket. And we'd buy like 15 tickets, all the time. And we were we graduated from San Diego State. We're chatting with Ballard Smith, former president of the San Diego Padres, talking about when's the book going to be released? The one you're writing on the '84 Padres. Is it
when I get it done?
When you get it done, that's right.
So
exactly. You can blame
actually, we got a
blame it on Bloom.
We need to get it done.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm looking forward to when that's out. Of course, just talking about, the run to the '84 World Series, the San Diego Chicken, the Beach Boy concert. But, another thing that you did, Ballard, working very closely with Andy, of course, and with Dick Freeman and others, you really engaged the Padres in the community, which was brilliant. Talk about that.
So I don't know if you remember the name Elton Schiller.
Name is familiar.
When I got there, Elton had been with Buzzy up with the Dodgers, and he was a business manager. And he had started things like the Padre Action Team. We had the Junior Padres, where you could, go to 11 games for $1. And when I started, the team wasn't very good.
Right.
So the idea was to try to build a fan base. And if you do research, you find that only about 20% of the people that live in the community ever go to a game. So there's obviously a big opportunity out there. And so, we tried to be proactive and get out in the community as much as we could.
You did, and you folks were great. And, in my role later on at the Union Tribune running community and public relations, we worked very closely with you folks on different types of initiatives. So it carried on. So unless you're living on the space station Mir, and you probably would know anyway, Padre ownership currently is in a little bit of a dispute. Talk about that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, I don't really know a lot.
Right.
I'm friendly with most of the people.
Right.
But I'll kind of tell you what my take is on it. There's some people who got excited and said, "Oh, the Padres are going to leave San Diego." I thought, well, wait a minute. So last year they drew 3.3 million,
right,
which is about the same number of people that live in San Diego County. Los Angeles Dodgers drew 4 million, but their population base is about 13 million.
Right.
So they were fifth in attendance. Everybody says they're one of the top 5 stadiums in the country.
Right.
And why would anybody think they would ever leave? Of course, they also have a lease.
Right.
So I kind of look at, okay, so we got some type of ownership dispute, but that doesn't take away from what the Padres have built.
Right.
And so they've still got that organization there with Eric Grupner as president.
Right.
AJ Preller out
Right.
there trying to build the team. I'm sure they're still going about their job. So,
right.
I don't know how it turns out. I'm not particularly concerned about it. The Padres will be here.
Right.
They'll have a team that hopefully approaches what they did last year.
Yeah, they were very competitive last year. So this is really not a fair question.
Thank you.
But I'm going to ask it anyway. It'll be neat. Actually, you'll be able to figure it out. We got a couple more minutes to go. Are there some moments that just stand out when you were president that, boy, there's probably 4 billion of them, of course, but there's some that go, that was really special.
When I was a kid, I always dreamt about being in a locker room when a team won the pennant. And to actually be able to do that. And the Cubs had an announcer by the name of Jack Brickhouse.
Of course.
Who I loved. So I'd gotten to know Jack. So I'm down in the clubhouse after we won the pennant, and he's interviewing me. He's got tears coming down his face. Mm-hmm. Poor guy. He died before the Cubs ever won the World Series. And the Cubs were terrible most of the years. The other thing I remember is that when Garvey hit that home run on Saturday night,
right.
I was so nervous. I'd gone out in the hallway, and so there's a monitor up there. And what I didn't realize was that there was about a 3 or 4 second delay. So I'm sitting there watching this monitor, and Garvey's up getting ready to bat. All of a sudden, there's this unbelievable cheer. Well, first of all, I didn't see the home run live. I was too nervous. And so,
I remember getting back to, if I'm not mistaken, there's a great picture of Mrs. Kroc, front page of the Union Tribune, when you guys won, if I'm not mistaken, when you won the pennant, and she's drenched in champagne. You remember that picture?
I do.
Yeah. Famous picture. It was a wonderful picture. I remember that, and just the glee. People. Ballard, what a joy. Do you have a name for your book that's coming out?
Don't have a name yet.
Okay.
If you want to suggest one, that's fine.
Promise me when it is ready to be published or whatever, you come back on. And
I would love to do that.
We'll consider that a done deal. I'm probably going to have you want to come back on. We just barely touched some of the great stories that you have, and it's good. You look terrific. It's good seeing you. I'm going to thank Andy for suggesting to have you on. And maybe next time, because Andy said, you need to get Dick on as well. So maybe let's get you and Dick on next time. How's that sound?
I would love to do it. Anytime you want to do it.
Absolutely. Ballard Smith, what a joy talking to you, and wishing you nothing but great success with the book, and looking forward to having you back on with Dick Freeman.
Drew, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running podcast. We're now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 years of doing great things in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.